7 SpongeBob animation errors. I'm sure that everyone that watches our videos loves their daily dose of SpongeBob. The fun, the adventures, the charm of the characters and its protagonist. But being such a long-running series is not easy at all. Animating is not an easy process. Whether it's digital or hand-drawn, it can be a time-consuming process that's never perfect. This often results in the occasional animation error slipping through the cracks. Even some of the best episodes can have a few accidental slip-ups. Even the biggest blockbusters have had mistakes, and these are some from SpongeBob that even longtime fans probably never noticed. Number 1. A changing door. Seems like SpongeBob caught a little bit of trouble at school during this episode. In the episode The Bully from the 3rd season of the show, a bully joins SpongeBob's boating class to kick his butt. When Flats the Flounder enters the classroom, he tells SpongeBob that he's going to kick his butt. SpongeBob at first assumes him to be joking, but Flats soon makes it clear that he really means to beat up SpongeBob. An extremely paranoid SpongeBob tries to seek help and to reason with Flats, but to no avail. But that's not the only problem that SpongeBob has to face during this episode. Let's watch this strange moment closely and for a little bit. When Flats enters the classroom with his scary and strong aura, he seems to enter class right from the outside of the streets of Bikini Bottom, which at first can of course seem the most normal world. If we jump a little forward in the same episode, the next time SpongeBob tries to enter the class while escaping from this cold-hearted bully, he enters from the hallway of the school. Weird, right? Usually the door of the class leads right to the hallway of the school, but maybe Flats had scared even the animators and they didn't want to cross him while walking inside the school. One way or another, this boat school seems to have magic doors. Or maybe it was all planned from the beginning by the animators of the show.
Come in, SpongeBob.
Number 2, a monstrous change of nose? The legend of the Yeti is scary, right? But who would have thought that even a Yeti can go underwater and visit Bikini Bottom? This funny episode from Season 9 tells a really curious story and one that for sure everyone will remember. The adventure starts when Mr. Krabs tells a story of a Yeti crab that eats lazy employees, which makes SpongeBob work in overdrive. Poor Bob. Seems like he can't catch a break with his work at the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob is frightened by the story and works extra hard, while Squidward continues being lazy. At the same time, the Yeti crab comes out from a mountain and goes to the Krusty Krab, as he is hungry. When SpongeBob sees him, he panics and works even harder than before, while Squidward thinks he's Mr. Krabs in disguise, just to discover later that the legend was true. But let us take a look at the design of this Yeti and what we've found in this episode. When the Yeti crab is presented to us as spectators, he has white fur, a red nose, big muscles, and a very strong musculature. Did you catch every detail? Well, there are some frames in which his aspect changes a little. First, when we see this legendary creature screaming and spitting at Squidward, suddenly his red nose turns white. But this is not the last time where his nose changes from red to white, because when we see the Yeti talking to SpongeBob inside the Krusty Krab, his nose has again switched its colors. Of course, it's hard to catch legendary creatures on camera, and obviously sometimes legends aren't exactly as they look when told to us. Or maybe it's just one small yet funny error that animators were not aware of.
Of course he is. Nice costume, Eugene. Couldn't you at least have it dry cleaned or pressed? Didn't brush this morning, did we?
Number 3, a changin' house. Seems like Mr. Krabs' greed is even capable of provoking errors from the animators. In One Krabs Trash, Mr. Krabs holds a yard sale at his house where he passes off his and other people's garbage as valuable antiques. Patrick and SpongeBob come by and Mr. Krabs tricks them into buying a plunger and a soda-drinking hat, respectively. After they leave, several people come by and each of them offers a large sum of money to Mr. Krabs for the the soda drinking hat, prompting Mr. Krabs to get it back from SpongeBob. Of course, being the kind of crab he is, the way to recover this valuable object is not going to be fair, and that is where we found something interesting. There's a moment in this episode where, in search of the aforementioned hat, Krabs decides to go to SpongeBob's house at night and steal it while our protagonist is sleeping. The curious thing is that, unlike other times where we've seen Bob's house, the room where he sleeps is on the first floor of the building instead of being on the third like most of the time. Seems strange, doesn't it? Also, when Krabs is leaving Bob's place, we see that Squidward's house is also missing. Another little detail that the animation team forgot.
This'll scare him.
Oh my gosh! A floating shopping list!
Number 4. Who stole the cash register? Have you ever thought about your boss being a robot? Well, that is exactly what happens to Squidward and SpongeBob in the episode Krab Borg. One night, SpongeBob and Gary watch a scary movie called Night of the Robot, which is about robots that take over the world, and it shows a live-action robot chasing a live-action human. Ironic, right? Gary tells SpongeBob that he should not watch it as scary movies freak him out, but SpongeBob denies this. But the next day at the Krusty Krab, he's become very paranoid and believes that robots are everywhere, including even thinking that Mr. Krabs is one of them. As if watching post-apocalyptic robot movies is not enough for Bob to be scared, we were able to find a little animation error in this one. There are some moments where, while in panic of the boss being a robot, we see Squidward and Bob screaming in the boat that there is just outside the kitchen of the Krusty Krab that the cash register has disappeared. But a brief moment later, when Krabs goes to the bathroom, the cash register appears magically. Imagine that a greedy person such as Krabs has lost his cash register. He for sure was not happy with the animators and what they did to him.
Now listen, what did these robots in the movie look like?
Well, they had piercing red eyes, metal pinchers for hands, and they ran on batteries.
Number 5, the chum bucket goes missing again? Before in the video, there were missing houses, so I am sure that this is not the first time we told you about buildings that suddenly disappear from their original place in Bikini Bottom, right? To show you this, we're going to jump to Plankton's Army, an episode of Season 3 of the show. In this episode, Plankton has a new idea for his nefarious plans to steal Krabby Patty's secret formula. After trying and failing to recruit some thugs at a nightclub, Plankton remembers that he has thousands of relatives across the sea and invites them all over to the chum bucket, imagining them all to be evil geniuses like he is. But things didn't work as he planned at first. In the first compasses of the episode, we see that a mysterious robot that tries to enter the Krusty Krab to order something to eat, this might be revealed to be one of Plankton's schemes. But if we take a look at what happens on the outside when this robot enters the restaurant, we find one of our dearly beloved animation errors. We know that the biggest competitor of the Krusty Krab is, of course, the chum bucket, but in this frame, the chum bucket is nowhere to be found. It is funny that disappearing buildings are one of the most common errors in the series. Or maybe it's just that Plankton was too tired of failing his plans that he closed his own restaurant.
What a quaint restaurant. I think I will sample their wares.
Ooh, how weird. A machine made to look like a customer.
Number 6, a new product in town. Continuing with the most famous hamburgers in the depths of Bikini Bottom, what would this city be without the delicious Krabby Patties? Well, this animation error might seem like a little one, but even the best lunch of this series can't save itself from animation mistakes. In the incredible Shrinking Sponge, SpongeBob must figure out how to do his job after accidentally shrinking himself. It is funny that after getting bit by an urchin, the grill's heat turns to very hot without SpongeBob noticing. As SpongeBob cooks, he becomes increasingly hotter and sweatier, and after some moments he notices his mistake too late and is shrunk down smaller than his spatula. But this is not the only thing that changes during this episode. Maybe not in size, but in name? During the last part of the episode, when Mr. Krabs hammers the personal hygiene service sign on the menu, the galley grub says Krabby Patty, i.e., instead of Krabby Patty with a Y. This seems really strange since the Krabby Patty is the trademark product of the restaurant. But maybe Bob is not the only thing that changes in shape or size in this episode. Or maybe it's just a coincidence or a little incident.
Now what could I do with a little SpongeBob?
Personal hygiene service!
Number 7, disappearing handcuffs. She may not be one of the main characters of the show, but how could we forget about our favorite driving teacher, Mrs. Puff? In the episode Bumper to Bumper, we see that SpongeBob is trying to pass the driving test for the endless time. And even Mrs. Puff wants to help him in this hard task. Would it be enough? Of course, this adventure won't be a SpongeBob adventure without its wacky moments, and this episode is no different. After a police officer catches both Puff and SpongeBob speeding and driving in a very reckless and dangerous way, he ends up stopping them, and not only arresting Mrs. Puff, but also ripping SpongeBob of his newly acquired driving licenses. Such bad luck. It's here at this moment where we found this little animation error. When Puff gets put inside the police car, she's wearing handcuffs like every dangerous criminal, but in the next frames, when she's telling SpongeBob that she will have her vengeance, the handcuffs have disappeared and are nowhere to be seen. Maybe Mrs. Puff has some hidden abilities, or maybe the animators didn't consider her a really dangerous criminal after all and forgot about the handcuffs. So there you have it, 7 new animation errors that you can find in SpongeBob SquarePants. Maybe some look like little things, yet they are really hard to catch and give the show an even charming and funnier tone. If you want to see more content of our yellow-colored friend, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Goodbye!